Hey everybody, it's your girl Nell and welcome to Coffee and Conversation. I am not drinking coffee today. I am drinking tea. My tiny studio assistant made some chrysanthemum tea for me to drink today. So I'm really excited about drinking some tea with agave as my sweetener. Yes, I am in it to win it. Um, as far as this weight loss journey is concerned, I am in it to win it. As I said before, I wanted to talk to you or share my weight loss journey experience with you. And I don't want to get into what my starting weight is or was. Just know that I'm not at my goal weight just as of yet. And at this point in time, I've lost about 75 pounds. So I'm really, really excited about all of that. I still have a journey ahead of me. And when I reach my goal weight, I will be so happy and excited because not that I'm not at a point where I'm living and I'm walking in my purpose. It's just the fact that I want to be healthier and I want the outside to match the inside. So as the inside is a work in progress, I want the outside to look like that as well. And when I reach my goal weight, I am going to be exuding the highest or at least reaching the highest potential that I can attain to as Nell, living my why and living and walking in my purpose. So thank you so much for hanging out with me here in the tiny studio. If you haven't already liked and subscribed to the channel and hit the notifications button, please go ahead and do so. If you don't want to, if you think you're going to forget to do so, please pause this video, take care of take care of that subscription business, and then come on back. I'll wait. All right, we're back. So I was talking about my weight loss journey. That was something that some of you tiny studio guests said that you wanted to get into or have a conversation with me about is my weight loss journey. I haven't always been a big girl. I was a hourglass girl for a very long time until maybe my late 20s is when I really started piling on the weight. And I have to say that it was because of certain habits that led me to gain the weight. But before the weight began to pile on, I was very, very active, which means I did a lot of walking, a lot of exercising. And as I began to get older and I worked in corporate America for a while, you start becoming, you know, set it, just sitting all the time. And that is what helped me to pile on the weight. But there are some habits that I had adopted because of certain circumstances. So I was doing some pretty unhealthy things. And when I stopped exercising, that was the catalyst to me putting on the weight. And what were those things? You know, what something, oh, there were things that occurred in my life that I had a really hard time dealing with. And perhaps we can get into it in subsequent coffee and conversations here in the tiny studio. But I'm going to list them for you, and then, maybe we can tackle it piece by piece as I go through this weight loss journey with you. The first thing I went through was I had a situation where I did not have a relationship with my biological father. So that is parental abandonment issues that I had to deal with. That was something that feeling unloved and unwanted by my biological father, that made me second guess who I was as a young Black girl. And growing up in a household where, even though I had two parents in my household, and even though my stepfather essentially raised me from 2 years and up, it was hard growing up seeing my siblings with their dad. And even though my stepdad, who I call my dad, even though he was essentially my father, the fact of the matter is I didn't have any mannerisms like either one of my parents. I look like my mother, and it's probably the eyes. I look like my mother, but my characteristics, the elements of me are predominantly my dad, my biological dad. So I felt misunderstood a lot. I felt like a square peg. You know, that's how I felt. I felt like a square peg trying to fit into a circle. And we all know that cannot happen. Um, my household, the household I grew up in, we were Jehovah's Witnesses. And being a Jehovah's Witness, as with any religion that has a strict adherence, there are certain things that you can do and that you cannot do. And as a Jehovah's Witness child, that meant that I was ostracized in school. Um, that meant that I went through bullying. Um, Once again, I was a square peg trying to fit in a board of circles. And so that was something I that bothered me. It really, really bothered me. And it's funny that at this young, mature age, I can now sit back and I can say, okay, this is what happened. This is why I was feeling this way. I'm able to look back on my childhood and my teenage years and the young adult life and say, okay, I understand now. But when you're young, you're going through it, you don't know any better. And because I was bullied and I went through a lot of different situations, as a Jehovah Witness child, there are certain habits that I picked up to ease the pain, which is food. I would get my allowance and I would walk up to the corner store, and I love King Dongs. King Dongs. Right? King Dongs. I think they were King Dongs. I love Ho-Hos. Okay. I love Nutter Butters. I loved Whoppers, baked beans, anything chocolate, Hershey bars, whatchamacallit, Snickers, Three Musketeers. If it was chocolate, but I didn't fool with the I didn't fool with any candy bar that had coconut in it. Any candy that had coconut, Mounds bar coconut, Clark bar coconut. No, I didn't eat any of those things because coconut was my enemy. So I ate a lot of candy and sweets. And because I did a lot of walking, I was not a chunky child. And the reason why I did a lot of walking was I was not only walking back and forth to school, but as a Jehovah's Witness, we had something called the field ministry, where you go out into your neighborhoods and you walk up and down the street knocking on doors. And sometimes we would do blocks at a time of walking. I mean, I have walked 8 or 9 blocks to get to territories to conduct my ministry. So I was a walking fool, and that's how I was able to keep the pounds off. But once I became an adult, I was out on my own. I had my first child. I was married. I was cooking every day. I had a job in corporate America, and I was just stationary, then no, that's not the word. Is that the word I'm looking for? Stationary? Or I started living a sedentary. Is it sedentary? You know what I'm talking about. I didn't I had a desk job, okay? And so I basically sat at my desk and I ate. And I ate, continued to eat all the things I was already eating, plus some other things that, when you become an adult, your palate widens. And so I started eating a whole lot of things that were calorie filled. And it was basically to what ease the pain that I was going through. Not only that, I was a victim of SA. Yes. And being a victim of SA comes with a little bit of guilt. And for me, the guilt was I believed that I was at the wrong place at the wrong time. And if you are a Jehovah's Witness, then you know what I'm talking about. I'm only going to say one word and you're going to be like, oh, okay, I see where you're coming from. Dinah. Dinah, okay? So, if you know the story of Dinah in the Bible, Dinah was one of the daughters of one of the daughters of Jacob, of Israel, or whose name also became Israel, and she was one of his daughters, and she used to go off to, I want to say, she used to hang out with people who were non-Jews. And according to Jehovah's Witnesses, what happened is she was hanging out with the wrong crowd, and some dude developed feelings for her, and he raped her. And when her brothers found out that she was raped, they went over into that town and they killed all the men. Yeah, that's the story. So as a Jehovah's Witness, when you say the name Dinah, and then you relate it to yourself, what you're saying is that, hey, I was a victim of SA because I was a Dinah. I was someplace where I should not have been. And so I carry that massive guilt around with me, even though now I understand that it was not my fault. Okay, SA is never your fault. It's never the victim's fault. It's the other person, the perpetrator's fault. It was them, not me. I didn't ask to be SA. Okay, and the reason why I had to say SA is because YouTube is funny about those kind of things, So I carried that along. I carried that with me, being SA. I carried along the fact that I became pregnant at a very, at a young age. It wasn't really that young. I became pregnant at 19, had my baby 3 months shy of my 20th birthday. But for me, that was young and I was unmarried. Okay. And in Jehovah's Witness world, that's not a good thing. Right? So I carried that around with me. I was disciplined by Jehovah's Witnesses, by the elders. I was privately reproved, publicly reproved. Then I became disfellowship, which means that when you become disfellowship, that means your family can't speak to you, and all the friends and community that you had, that you were raised with, they turn their back on you, so you're alone. I went through that. So I really started piling on the weight, along with living a lifestyle where I, was basically sitting most of the time, and having feelings of guilt, dealing with trauma, okay, abandonment issues, those things helped me to bury my pain or not really deal with my pain. And so I started dealing with the consequences of suppression or suppressing my pain and my trauma. I started dealing with those consequences, and the consequences were piling on the weight. Yes. What else? Birth control pills, birth control shots, medications for depression. I was taking Zoloft for a while. If you are a person who takes mental health, and you're taking prescription medication for your depression or your mental health disorders, you already know that those medications help to pile on the weight. Um, what else? That's basically it. And then I started having more children. So, all of those things. Oh, don't let me forget the asthma medication. I was taking steroids. So steroids helped me to pile on the weight. So all of this weight is, piling on, piling on, piling on. I am still working in a corporate situation, and then when I leave that situation for full-time motherhood, I'm constantly baking. I'm baking cakes. I'm baking cookies. I'm baking pies. I started a little bread baking business. I did. That's a true story. I did. And then I just started really gaining the weight. Every year I was bigger, getting bigger and bigger and bigger until I became unrecognizable to myself. Strictly unrecognizable to myself. And yes, there have been certain points in my adulthood where I have attempted to lose the weight. And at certain junctures I was successful, but because I had not dealt with a lot of the issues that I just discussed with you, the weight will come back, and it hasn't been maybe within the last, I want to say the last 4 years, where I have really began to do the work to address some of the issues that really um bother me, some of the trauma that has really bothered me, such as the SA. um I have DV in my past. um what else? Being a Jehovah's Witness itself leads gives you all kinds of anxiety. I mean, I'm having anxiety right now because I'm thinking to myself, um will there be any Jehovah Witnesses or former Jehovah's Witnesses or current Jehovah's Witnesses? Will there be any of those folks that I know? Will they somehow find my video on YouTube and watch it and then go off and tell somebody? You see what I'm saying? I've had a lot of things going on in my life where food became my friend, where being alone became my way of surviving life. And I don't know if you can relate to that, but that's how I was. And I have to say, being one of Jehovah's Witnesses, people say that is a life changing thing. But for me, being one of Jehovah's Witnesses was one of the most depressing episodes in my life that I have never really gotten over. It's traumatic. It was traumatic for me because I was a Jehovah's Witness as a kid. So I not only have trauma that comes from being a Jehovah's Witness child, but then, as I said before, I became pregnant, out of wedlock. So that's more trauma, dealing with the fact that I, was disciplined, publicly disciplined for it. And then it got to the point where, I was eventually disfellowshipped because of the choices that I made. I decided to move in with my daughter's father, who became my husband, and I had to deal with the backlash for that. The fallout, of making choices. And for me, it really came down to the fact that perhaps being a Jehovah's Witness wasn't my walk, wasn't the walk that I was destined to do. But until I arrived at the point where I was willing to face that fact, then I continued to indulge in dysfunctional or maladaptive behaviors that led to the consequences of me becoming obese. So I don't know if you're struggling with your weight, and I don't know what issues you may have um, because of being overweight or obese, or anything of that nature. Maybe you're just trying to lose 20 pounds, Um, I'm trying to lose 20 pounds plus 20 pounds plus 20 more pounds plus 20 more pounds. But, the thing is that I I made the steps to get started. And to get started, what I've learned is that it's never what you're eating, it's always what is eating you. And the perfect film for me that showed that it's not what you're eating, but it's what's eating you is the film called What's Eating Gilbert Grape. That movie to me was very, very it was like holding a mirror up, because Gilbert Grape, there was a lot of things going on in his world, a lot of things going on that he had to deal with. And it was because of the things that was happening in his world that caused him to react to certain situations the way that he did. And I feel that way about myself. I feel that there were a lot of things that occurred in my life that, for whatever reason, whether it be I didn't have the tools necessary to cope with the issues that I had, or maybe it was the shame or guilt that I had from religiosity, or perhaps it was being afraid to um, confront what I was really feeling on the inside that I kept suppressed. Whatever the case may be, the fact of the matter is that in order for me to successfully lose weight, I have to address each of those issues. So I started out in 2014 addressing the issue of my religiosity. I started that journey. Also started the journey of making peace with my biological father. He is now deceased and has been deceased since I want to say he's been deceased now for 25 years. However, or 24 years. However, he asked me to forgive him, and I said yes because he was dying. But I hadn't really forgiven him because for so long I blamed other people for keeping me from my father, when the reality is the universe worked it out in a way that was for my benefit. And you may say, how is that? What are you talking about, Nell? How is your father abandoning you? How was that meant to be? It turned me into the compassionate, empathetic, loving woman that I am today. I am present for my children. I have raised them in such a way where they treat other people with compassion and with empathy and with kindness and understanding and love. And it was meant for me not to have him in my life. And it's taken me a very long time to make peace with that. But in order for me to lose weight, I have to do this work. I also have made peace with my father's children. I have an older sister, and then I have younger siblings as well. I used to hold things against them because I felt that they did not accept me as their sister. And I felt bad, a regret, and pain because I did not grow up with them. Because I felt I was cheated out of knowing my paternal side of the family. However, I have come to learn that everything happens for a reason. Everything. Everything happens for a reason. There's a lesson inside of everything. And so, at this young, mature age, I've made peace with that. I've made peace with the fact that I am beautiful and wonderful as I am. And if people choose to accept me, or if they do not choose to accept me, that's not my business. My business is to be the best Nell that I can be. And if they come to me for love, compassion, empathy, then I am prepared to extend it. Because that's the way the universe wants it to be. See, there are different things that I have come to the realization that has to be done for me and able to be successful at losing weight. I understand it. It's like I said the other day to you when I said that I get it now. So when I conclude this weight loss journey, I will officially be done with this because I will have done the work. I am doing the work. Letting go is more than just saying letting go. Saying I forgive you, there's more to it than just words. It's a lot of work involved. And that's how I feel. To let go of the trauma of being SA. I, therapy. Therapy is the only way I have been able to get through the trauma of SA. And letting go of the guilt because it was not my fault. Regardless of what religiosity or being one of Jehovah's Witnesses said, it's not my fault. And once I begin to understand and realize that it's not my fault, I begin to feel better about myself. One of the things I've also realized about me is that I have triggers. And each of us have triggers, buttons. Something happens, and in order to cope with what has happened, we all do certain things. Some people decide, some people run or jog. Some people become introverted or go off to themselves. Other people drink. Some people use drugs. And there are those of us who eat because we're trying to deal with the pain, cope with the pain. So now I know that if I feel pain, for whatever the reason, I keep fruit in the house. I keep fruit in the house. I have grapes. I have cherries. I have oranges. I keep fruit in the house. So that when I feel like I need to eat something because I've been triggered in some way, that's what I do. Or if I decide if there's snacks in the house, like maybe if there's M&Ms in the house, or if there's potato chips in the house, or if there are cookies in the house, what I do is I will eat a few, and then I will tell my husband or children to remove it from my sight. Remove it and put it in a place where I don't see it. What I want to do is be in a place where I can work on what is triggering me, but I don't want to fall into a situation where I am allowing my triggers to rule me. I want to be the master of my triggers. So if I am triggered and I decide to eat a couple of chocolate chip cookies, that's fine. But I also need to master that. Okay, I know that the chocolate is going to help release endorphins and dopamine to make me feel better. I understand that. But do I need to eat the whole package? No. Do I need to eat the whole roll of cookies? No, I do not. Will 2 cookies suffice? Yes, it will. So those are the things that goes through my mind. And that's how I know that when I complete this journey, I'm done with it. Now, yes, there will always be triggers. But the idea is to be able to think, to be able to control your emotions, control what I put into my mouth. I'm going to tell you about me. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself where it comes to control and mastering my demons. I used to be a smoker. I used to smoke, yes. And there are certain things that trigger when I get upset and angry. It's a trigger for me to want to go to the store and to buy a pack of cigarettes and smoke them. But you know what rolls through my mind when I think about, oh, let me head to the store to get a pack of cigarettes. There's something in my mind that says, why you want to smoke poison? That's poison. That's not something that you need. You feel like smoking? Drink some peppermint tea. Drink some chrysanthemum tea. Drink some hyssop tea. Drink some there's a herb called yerba matea, and it has this really great menthol taste to it. I have it in tea, and I also get it from the bodega, and it's in soda form. I drink some I drink some yerba matea whenever I have that urge to smoke a cigarette, and that's just as good. But guess what? It's not poison. I'm not smoking. So there are things that we can do to deal with the things that trigger us into maladaptive behaviors. And that is how my mind operates right now. Like, I give anything to drink a Coca-Cola right about now. I love a good Coke, right? But do you know what happens when I think about drinking soda or pop? You know what my mind says? That's poison. You don't need any poison in your body. Drink some water, drink some tea. And that's how I know I'm on the right path, because I'm listening to my voices. I'm listening to my inner self. And remember, that's what I told you. I said that I am working towards making what's going on inside of me, my inner self. I'm working on that being projected to my physical self, my outside appearance. So if I'm continuing to tell myself, no, this is not what you're going to do, that is poison. Do not intake, do not ingest that, do not eat that. If you're going to eat some of this, eat a couple of pieces and go about your business. That's inner me. That's me talking to me. I'm talking to myself because I know that I have a greater purpose. My purpose is not to be uh, sedentary, stuck in one place. I have a plan. Okay. I want to be all over this world. Okay. I plan to have a condo in Ghana. Mm-hmm. I have things that I want to do. And in order for me to be successful at doing them, I need to reject what I see in the mirror and replace it with what I want to see. The real me. You know what I'm saying? I think that being a Jehovah's Witness had a lot to do with me piling on the weight, because being a Jehovah's Witness is so depressing. It's so stressful. I mean, every day, every time you go to the Kingdom Hall, it's about, look, Armageddon is right around the corner. The Great Tribulation is happening tomorrow. Or we don't know when the Great Tribulation is happening, but we got to stay on the watch. I mean, man, being a Jehovah's Witness is one of the most stressful religions I have to say anybody could be in, because like a lot of people say, a lot of psychologists say, being a Jehovah's Witness is Jehovah's Witnesses are like a doomsday religion, because it's like, and it's true. It's absolutely, those are the facts. Jehovah's Witnesses are like a doomsday organization, because everything that's good that can happen for you is only going to happen to you when doomsday arrives. D-Day. That's the only time you can expect to live a very good life, a prosperous life. It's when doomsday arrives, when Armageddon happens. After Armageddon happens, that's when all the good things start to happen for you. And there are so many Jehovah's Witnesses who are depressed. There are so many Jehovah's Witnesses on antidepressants. There are so many Jehovah's Witnesses who commit suicide each year. Now, Jehovah's Witnesses are not going to release those stats to you, but trust me when I say Jehovah's Witnesses are very, very depressed. Jehovah's Witnesses, the organization, will keep you in a loop, of fear. Ooh, if I don't study my watchtower, if I don't go out in the field ministry, if I don't attend all these meetings, if I don't present myself in a certain way out in public, I'm going to fall out of favor with the organization, with my local congregation, and no one's going to love and be concerned about me anymore. And then when the Great Tribulation, Armageddon come, I'm going to just perish. I'm going to be destroyed, and I'm never going to see any of my family or loved ones that have died again in life. Because that is what Jehovah's Witnesses believe. After Great Tribulation comes, Armageddon comes, then the dead is going to be raised back to life. And then, you'll live in a paradise forever, or at least until Satan, the devil, is re-released from from his jail or abyss to come out and tempt everybody. And of course, the world is going to be bad all over again. And then I guess somewhere down the line, God is going to step back in for Armageddon number 2. So if you make it through Armageddon number 1, good for you. But you might not make it through Armageddon number 2. That's depressing. That's depressing as F. That's depressing. Okay? You worrying all the time, Am I going to make it? Am I going to make it? I hope I make it. I hope my children continue to go to the hall so they can make it too. I hope my mama make it. I don't know if my cousin gonna make it because she's a sinner. You know, if she's gay or she's whatever, or if she gay, she really not gonna make it. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Being a Jehovah's Witness is so stressful. And that's why there are so many Jehovah's Witnesses who are depressed. There are so many Jehovah's Witnesses each year who commit suicide because they just can't take it no more. They just can't take it anymore. There are so many Jehovah's Witnesses who are overweight. Go to your local Kingdom Hall. You'll see it. So many Jehovah's Witnesses who are overweight. Because are they living their are they living in their why? Are they living in their purpose? Are they walking in their dream? Are they actually living their dreams? Of course not. Because in the Jehovah's Witness religion, you're told or taught to stifle your dreams, stifle your passions. Don't do any of those things. And when you're not being your authentic self and you're suppressing who you truly are, all kind of things arise. And that's why people are depressed. That's why people are overweight. That's why Jehovah's Witnesses are depressed. And that's why they're overweight. And don't let them tell you otherwise. Don't let them tell you otherwise. I remember back in the day, if you're a Jehovah's Witness and you told somebody you was depressed, they told you it's because you wasn't doing enough Bible study. You're not praying enough. That's why you're depressed. You're not praying enough. You're not being active in Jehovah's Witness activities. That's why you're depressed. No, it has nothing to do with that. Or my favorite, oh, you're depressed. Oh, that's just Satan. That's just Satan messing with you. No, maybe it's a chemical imbalance of my brain. Maybe that's it. Or maybe I'm feeling this depression because of this form of religiosity, this form of Christianity that is more so has a doomsday element to it. Maybe that's depressing me. Maybe I'm depressed because I am not living my true life. I'm not doing the things that my heart says that I should be doing. I'm doing things to make other people happy. Maybe that's the reason why I'm depressed and suffering from a mental health crisis. Maybe that's it. So, when I really start to be introspective about my life, that is when I really begin to find that I'm able to deal with certain issues, especially when it comes to weight. And that's my story. It's like, 43 minutes after the hour. So, I wanted to share that with you because I feel that maybe you can understand. Maybe you're going through something as well. And, you know, it's cool to pop into the tiny studio to talk about, certain things like crochet and Coach bags and, um, you know, things of that nature. But I want to be able to, I want you to be able to see who I am, who I really am. And maybe this channel is going to be cathartic, not just for me, but maybe for you as well. That has always been my goal. My goal has always been to educate and entertain and enlighten, encourage everyone that comes into, walks into my path. That has always been my aim. So I've shared a lot about myself with you today. you know a little bit more about your girl Nell. I hope I was able to at least encourage you and maybe inspire you a little bit to be more authentic with who you are, to live an authentic life. And if you're on a weight loss journey like I am, do the work. It's not going to be as easy. It's definitely going to take time because there are just layers upon layers upon layers of things that we have to peel and get through. But if I'm doing it, I know you can do it too. All right then. Well, I'm almost finished with my tea. And I am going to work on my crochet. I'm going to finish, excuse me, working on my Rasta hat. I have it sitting around here in the tiny studio, and I'm still on the row where I am supposed to begin to close up my Rasta hat, and which means I'll be going through decreasing. So I just started my decrease row. Well, actually, I started that the decreasing of stitches. I started that row maybe about 2 weeks ago too, but I'm going to complete it. You know what I purchased recently? I bought some more stitch markers, and let me see. They look like this. I saw a young lady on YouTube, and she was using these little clips as stitch markers. Isn't that cute? I thought these were just so cute as stitch markers. So I bought a whole thing of these. They're called sewing clips, but she was using them as stitch markers for what was she using it for her crochet? She was using these as stitch markers. So it's about 100 or so in here. Yep, it's 100 pieces. And so I'm going to try it out, and I'll let you know whether or not using these cute little sewing clips, I'll let you know if they work as stitch markers on my crochet projects. All right then, well, I'm going to let you go. And if you have any questions or comments or concerns, please do not hesitate to drop down in the comment section and we can get this conversation started. If you are currently on a weight loss journey, you know, how are you doing? What is your goal weight? How much have you lost so far? What are you doing to lose the weight? Maybe in another video, if you would like, I'll get into what it is exactly that I'm doing to lose weight. And yeah, maybe I will share that with you. You'll be surprised, or will you? So I will talk to you soon. And once again, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Don't forget that you can send me if you would like to buy me a coffee from Starbucks or something like that, my Cash App is located in the description box of this video. Not only that, I want to say that if you would like to be a member of the channel, you can do that too. It doesn't cost anything to be a member of the channel. So if you would like to be a member, where you'll get exclusive updates of things going on here in the tiny studio, more exclusive content, let me know. I am also on TikTok at Nista Queen Nell. I am on Instagram at Blue Lotus Hill Designs and at Nell's Tiny Studio. All right then. I'm going to get off this line here and I'm going to let you get on with your day, and I'm going to continue with mine. So once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.